So governments have always invested in firms. They've always had some policies either through banks or just giving grants directly to firms. But what's happening now is sort of new. They are investing in venture capital, in private equity funds. And they've traditionally done this through sovereign wealth funds. But the goal there has been usually to maximize financial returns for the government or for the fund itself, and not necessarily achieving industrial policy objectives. But I think what's happening more and more now is that there are mandates attached to government funds that are entering the VC market, even if it's happening indirectly. So in Europe, for example, there's this body called European Investment Fund, which gives money to private VC funds. So it becomes an LP in these funds. And it's not picking firms directly, the firms which ultimately get money. That's still being done through the private VC funds, but it can still has the flexibility to pick which funds get the money. So it knows, for example, that a particular fund is focused on this particular European country, on this particular sector, and it can choose to give money to that fund to achieve some industrial policy objective. And in doing so, it's not just supporting venture capital markets domestically as and how it sees fit, it is also supporting the young firms in those specific sectors and countries. And something else that's super interesting is that there's this secondary effect when the government invests in the venture capital market, which is that the government does a lot of due diligence. The government does a lot of due diligence, so when it actually selects a fund to give money to, that fund actually gets a seal of approval. It's a very powerful endorsement to the rest of the market that the government has invested in this fund. It makes it very easy for that fund to raise money from the rest of the market. So it makes co-investments easier. So different academic disciplines probably have different things to offer and do offer different things. I can speak to the role of economics in this field. So economics allows for very rigorous theory-driven and data-driven analysis of the effectiveness of various policies and regulations which exist in this ecosystem of startups and venture capital. And specifically, more research by economists in this field can help us identify exactly what the bottlenecks are in the startup ecosystem. Is it some lack of entrepreneurial talent? Is it market access? Is it financial constraints where venture capital comes in? Or is it something about frictions related to uncertainty about the policy environment or the legal environment which the government is responsible for? And not only can research identify these bottlenecks, it can also quantify them through the lens of an economic model. And I think both identifying and quantifying these bottlenecks is very important before we can start to engage in effective discussions about how to best develop policy and regulations for supporting startups in any country.